Okay, so we're going to talk about transitions now, right? Transitions. This is where, when you talk about the hierarchy of skills, you okay, Dustin?
I just gotta stretch constantly.
Yeah, I know, I hear that. Hierarchy of skills in a competitive shooting stage, right? 32 round stage, 14 pieces of paper and 4 poppers. Okay, so what do we do the most in that stage?
Hit, move,
Not really.
doubles.
So you got the right idea, David, right? 32 shots plus, depending on how many makeups we take, right? So shooting fundamentals, what we just did, right? Grip, trigger control, acclimation to recoil is the 50-50 drills, um, aiming, visual on target, all that stuff, right? Being able to shoot accurately and quickly, okay? After that, what do we use the most?
Transition.
Transitions, right? So in that stage, 14 pieces of paper and 4 poppers, and counting presentation as a transition, you're doing 18 transitions, right? Now, me and George shoot the same stage, do everything the same, we run the same, we do everything else the same. The only difference is I save 0.2 of a second on every transition. How much have I beaten you by in time?
0.6 seconds.
3.6 seconds.
That's like 5 seconds.
Right? That's huge, right? So transitions is a big time saver for a lot of people, right? What about after that? What's next? What's the next thing that we might do a couple times in a field course like that?
Yeah,
Movement.
moving, shooting while moving.
Shooting while moving, position entry, right? There's going to be times we're not going to be able to shoot on the move. We have to get to a position fast, right? There's going to be times we can make a choice to try to shoot on the move to blend positions together to save time while not having to shoot as aggressively, right? We have 1 reload, maybe, 1 draw, maybe. Now, from a skill perspective, draw and reload are going to be valuable to get to a minimum standard, right? Outside of that, once you're at that minimum standard, you don't really have to do a ton more, right? Like
What would you say that minimum standard is for those?
So the minimum standard I would like is at 7 yards, like 1 second, 1 second draw. Reload with today's stages, it doesn't have to be a second really. 1.2 or 1.3 is fine. Shot to shot is what I'm talking about, right? And that's achievable, right? Once you get it to there, and guys, you want me to work on reloads with me, like just let me know. We'll do some. I'll show you the things that would help you get there. I can also send you guys free lessons like within the summary that'll give you all that information, so you guys will be in good hands with that. I chase reloads way hard, right? Production shooter, 10 rounds in New York. Reloads became an advantage. So I got very good at them, and I remain good. But at this point, 1 reload a stage, there's no reason for me to work on them in any meaningful way at this point, versus the other stuff we talked about. Right? Draw is the same thing. Get it to around a second at 7 yards. Be able to do it consistently with a high percentage of alphas. That's all you really need to do. Move on. You're better served doing other stuff. You can always come back to the draw, right? Like Josh, you want to work on the draw. Every time you dry fire, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes and work draws. Like you can do it in the way we just did it, or for you can set a 0.6 timer and aim to have sights on target in 0.6, right? And work with that 1 second timer to be able to, as soon as there, you're able to fire. That's all you really need to do. And that 3 to 5 minutes, that'll add up quick in a couple weeks. I did that with wrist above shoulders. You were asking about that. I set a 0.7 par time, and I just 3 minutes, boom, boom. Figure out.
You guys have different styles for that. Like I see this, right?
This. Yeah. The key is this: it's consistent for you, and you're able to get your hand on the gun. Like I've changed multiple. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done everything. What I found when I really started working it a lot more, coming back to it, is being able to pick it similar to how I would pick my normal draw. That to me seemed to be best, right? For you, maybe the nose, because you have to go around the gun. So Robert Vogel talked about the same thing here, because he wanted to be able to go straight down to his gun.
And like pop the elbow.
Whatever works. There's all different types of techniques. don't stress so much on the technique. Set the par timer, start working it for 3 minutes, 5 minutes a session, and you're going to start to figure out what you like best. That's what I did. You know, key is that it's consistent. You're doing the same thing every time, right? React fast to the beep, get to the gun fast, get the gun in 2 hands fast. Everything else is the same as we just talked about, right? So back to transitions. There's 3 parts to a transition that are pretty important in terms of the physical components of them, okay? The first part is the exit. By exit, I mean, as soon as we call a good shot, whatever that means, we'll do that maybe after lunch as a starting thing, right? As soon as we call a good shot, we get to the next target. We start moving to the next target immediately, right? The bullet has left the barrel before the slide has even moved. Before you even feel recoil, the bullet's gone, right? So as long as we could hold still just long enough to let that happen, we can do whatever we want with the gun afterward, right? So that's component 1. That's where a lot of people get hung up, right? They get hung up because they follow back through on the target, or they're looking for their hits and they just wait to move off the target, right? Component number 2 is the entry part of the entry part. Meaning, as soon as we're done shooting, our head and eyes have to get to the next spot on the target we want to go to as quick as they can. And then when the gun enters, it enters in a way that it can end up stopping precisely so that you could shoot immediately. The draw is the same thing, right? In Lauren's case here, he was pushing so hard that he wasn't able to stop the gun, and that's what caused the shots to go high for you in the beginning, right? So you got to think about transitions, moving the gun around when we're talking about any of this stuff, like driving a car. If you want to get from point A to point B, you have to accelerate. You might hit a top speed, and then you have to slow down to a stop, right? What happens if you try to brake a car at 60 miles an hour when you're 10 feet from that garage? You're going through that garage, right? Same thing with transitions. You go too hard and you don't stop early enough, this is what happens, or that's what happens, right? A lot of excess tension. Make sense so far? Now, the third component in most transitions is, what are we doing on paper? How many shots are we firing? 2 shots, right? So we have to be able to return the gun, put the gun back on target between the first and the second shot, and then exit the target or release the gun on that second shot to the next target, right? That's where people also get hung up, is they end up going bop bop, and then they move. They focus on shooting fast splits versus being able to return the gun for the first shot and let the gun go for the second shot. That's very hard to do. A lot of people will typically shoot fast, they'll end up hanging out there. When you start splitting the gun super hard, you're pushing on the gun so hard, you also lose the ability to let it go. Does that make sense? You'll see guys, they'll have this 15 split and this 50 transition. You guys have probably seen these people kind of shoot. Bop, 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 right? Versus bop, 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 right? So we're gonna work on putting those components together. Other things that are important, specific vision on target is the most important component of that, right? So a lot of people, this is kind of the evolution of transitions. This is how everybody starts off, right? They follow the gun. They don't want to let that dot go. They don't want to let that dot go. It's got to stay, right? So they follow the gun around, right? That's not nearly as accurate. It's not fast. So the first thing we have to learn as shooters is to disconnect the head and eyes from the gun as fast as we can get it to move. Our vision is very fast compared to the movement of the gun. So we have to learn to separate that first, right? Now, once you learn to do that, right, I'm now separating my vision. What happens as you go up the ladder of mastery? What does this become?
Automatic.
It does become automatic, but what does it also become in terms of what's hindering my progress?
The reaction time between your head and your shoulders.
Yep. So reaction time somewhat, but you're getting in the right path. Now, this separation becomes a time delay. right? When it's too exaggerated. So then when you get to the point where you're always separating your head and eyes, right? Now you have to start catching the gun back up to your face. I call this the cat and mouse theory. All right, what's the mouse always trying to do? Get away from the cat. What's the cat trying to do? Catch the mouse. Right? So your vision is the mouse, the gun is the cat. Right? So we go from this to now this. Right? You're trying to catch the gun back up. It's a constant evolution. It's something I'm even still working on to this day because it's so valuable to continue to train. When it comes to movement of the gun, especially in shorter transitions like what we're going to be practicing, think about moving your hands to your face as if you had a computer icon on the next target and you're just trying to move the mouse pointer to there, right? You don't need to push so hard. You just need to let the hand go to where you're looking. Questions on any of that? Okay, so we'll do a couple exercises here and we'll take it from there. Cool, awesome. So let's talk about the first one. I think what I'll do is I'll demonstrate them first. I'll demonstrate one of them first, let you guys do it, then demonstrate the next one, and then there are 4 parts to it. So, just like we started off trigger control at speed, right? We're gonna do 1 shot on the beep, except this time, we're now looking to get the gun off target as fast as we can, right? So start here, guys, eyes and ears. I'll aim at the head box. Okay, so start aimed on target. As soon as I fire the shot, I'm trying to yank the gun off target as quickly as I can. Okay, here we go. I don't care about what I'm going to right now. I just care. Huh? You can if you want to. Yeah, just pick a spot somewhere. My key is that I'm exiting the target really aggressively. Right? You can see there's an aggression to it. If I do it wrong, this is what it might look like. What's the difference?
The gun returns.
Right. The gun returned back on target. You'll find it is very hard to actually yank the gun off target on 1 shot. Very hard. Okay? What I would encourage you guys to do is try to make that happen. See if you can get to the point where you are literally yanking the gun off target.
So how does that work with shot calling? Like what if you just hit a really bad second shot and you've already got the gun off target?
I got something we're going to practice for that. Right? Shot calling off dot lift, right? That's something that you're going to typically do. And if the second you see the dots start to move up in recoil, right? That's when you start to move. You either make your decision it's a good shot and move, or you make your decision it's a shot that needs attention and fire makeup, right? In this case, I'm teaching you the maximum potential of it, right? And this kind of goes more off trigger press. There's 3 ways to call shots: trigger press, trigger lift, dot lift. This I'm using the trigger break as an opportunity to try to exit the target earlier. They're all applicable in different ways. They're tools in a toolbox. Easier targets, you can get away with trigger break. This drill, I want you to use trigger break so you learn what's possible. Right? You're gonna find it's really hard to do. Let's get on the line and do a couple of these.